Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is meteorologist Jonathan Kegas with you. We are hopping on to do a live stream here, breaking down what is happening with our, pre-Christmas blizzard here, as this is going to be all said and done by the time Christmas Day gets here, but it is going to be a doozy for those trying to travel. So we're going to break it down. I'm going to let you guys do the driving. Post in the comments where you're watching from or where you're concerned about, and we can take a closer look as to where this is going, as to what it's doing. There have been a little bit of some subtle changes, nothing major in terms of the snowfall accumulations, but we can go over some of what the changes are. And then we're also going to take a look at some of the impacts here, starting really right now, and then lasting all the way through really Christmas Day in terms of that Arctic chill. Hey, Paisley, what's going on? Okay, so you have to define good news for me, because some people would like good news as a lot of snow or not a lot of snow. So define good news, and then we will go from there. Hey, Killer B23 in Cleveland, Ohio. Post where you're watching from again. And again, wherever you guys want to check out, we will do that. The makings of our blizzard, it's kind of in pieces right now. It doesn't look like much, but where we have some of that snow, we have it coming down at a pretty good clip. Already reports west of the Twin Cities of about 3 inches of snow, near Brainerd, about an inch of snow. Again, nothing too heavy right now, and that was to be expected. This is really going to ramp up tomorrow. But you see this little blue box here in and around Hot Springs, South Dakota, south of I-90. That's where we have a snow squall warning in place. If you're out driving in and around south of Rapid City, be careful, because we have that snow squall where things just change quickly. You can be driving, it's nice and clear outside. You can see visibility is good, then all of a sudden, bam, coming up. No high wind. I like power. All right, so here's the deal. It is going to get windy, and we can take a look at some of this stuff. Right now, as we get started, and again, post in the comments where you are watching from, and if you want to take a look at anywhere in particular, I want to show you the core of this Arctic air mass. This is really, it's a three-part system. I think the cold and the wind, it's always looked like those were going to be the main impacts. The snow is just, the icing on top. This never looked like it was going to be a ton of snow for most. Michigan, we are going to be ground zero, if you will, for this thing, especially the UP of Michigan. Ethan, nice and, I guess, mild, at least relatively speaking, but it's an ugly day in Florida as expected. And it's going to get really, really cold in Florida as well. Iguana falling out of trees weather for Southwest Florida is coming as this blast of Arctic air rides down. I want to show you this. These are actual air temperatures in the Yukon Territory right now, just to the east of Alaska. I don't know how well you can see that, but right in here, this is 53 degrees below zero. That is 58 degrees below zero. I mean, it's noon. It's getting into the afternoon. This is the Arctic air mass. Again, it will modify some, but we really are starting to see it if we take a super wide out view of this air mass. We call this cross-polar flow. It is literally spilling down from the North Pole, all of that purple there. And it's going to be bitterly cold. Again, already starting to get into parts of the upper Midwest and northern plains. There is the Arctic cold front. It slides down here tomorrow, and then by Friday, it's pretty much right in here. So we have some big-time snow, big-time cold coming to parts of the country, depending upon where you're at. So some of the changes here, I want to kind of go over those, and then we can get into kind of what you could see wherever you want to take a look at. The one notable change here is that we're no longer likely going to see the two of these storms come together. There was this slug of moisture out ahead of it. This was piece number 2. And then the main piece sliding out of the Canadian Rockies is sliding in here. We're not going to see the collision. This one's going to kind of get pushed out ahead. So in turn, we are not talking about, I think, as much snow as I anticipated yesterday. There's still going to be snow in a lot of places. I think we're just going to dial it back by a couple of inches in most spots. And we're going to go over, again, some of those snowfall totals in just a little bit. But nonetheless, this is going to be a quick sweeping system. Here's Thursday morning. This is 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And you see, again, there's not really much to write home about here, at least from the snow perspective. There's not a ton of moisture. The snow ratios, though, will be impressive because it's so cold. Typically, we're looking at 10 inches of snow to equal 1 inch of, or 10 inches of rain, I should say. Let me get this straight. It's 1 inch of rain equals 10 inches of snow. That is the typical, the average liquid to snow ratio. It's going to be a little higher than that because the air mass is so cold. So typically you would see a little bit higher than what the model output is going. Hey, Christine in Lake Charles, good to see you again. Jax135, all right, driving a truck from St. Louis to Western Pennsylvania and back to Southern Ohio today and tomorrow. I think that is a good time to do it. I think you're going to be out ahead of the main stuff. Thank you for all you are doing, by the way, especially in weather like this, for sure. So, okay, you mentioned driving truck from St. Louis to Western Pennsylvania and back Southern Ohio today and tomorrow. So today you're good to get to Western Pennsylvania. And tomorrow, so you're going back to St. Louis. Just watch if you're driving in the evening. This band of, it's going to be narrow. It's going to be a quick hitter, but that could put down a couple of inches of snow on your way back. That's going to be tomorrow evening. This is at about 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern time. So just watch out for that band of snow coming through that way. Jeffrey, what is going on, my man? Yeah, you're gonna get it depending upon what side. Western Michigan and then the UP of Michigan is going to get nailed. I mean, we're talking at least, I can back this up, we're talking at least 8 to 16 inches of snow right in here, and then in the UP, it's game over. It's 1 to 2 feet, plus 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts. So everything is still on track. I made some subtle changes here, and we're going to talk about those. Everything's still on track for what I thought was going to happen, at least at this point anyway. Things could always change, but I'm confident in the forecast for Michigan remaining the same. I think also northern Tennessee, if you saw the snowfall forecast from yesterday, right along and just right downwind of Lake Michigan, I have you guys at 8 to 16 inches of snow. I think most of Indiana gets 3 to 6 inches of snow. So that's just backing off a little bit. I had 4 to 8 yesterday. I think we'll shave off an inch. It's just moving so fast, and there's not a ton of moisture with this. So I think, all in all, I think most of Indiana sees about 3 to 6 inches of snow. Most of Ohio will see about 2 to 4 inches of snow, unless you are right along the lake. That's where we're going to see a little bit more, a few more inches more, could be enhanced by those west winds off of Lake Erie. So Cleveland, especially Erie, Pennsylvania, we could see that as well. Good stuff. Hey, what's going on again, Michelle? Good to see you. Milwaukee getting blizzard conditions. It's going to be, I think it's going to be close. I don't think that they are going to, I don't think they're going to verify blizzard conditions. It is going to be close. We can take a look at, here is what the National Weather Service has up. These are the current, Oh, it's game on, my friend. It is game on. We're going to take a close look here. We're going to go into, I'm going to pull up, that's the wind. I mean, the wind is going to be screaming. That's almost like the slam dunk of this, is the wind and the Arctic cold. Those are pretty much a given. It's the snow totals that still need some fine tuning, and we'll get into that why. So again, if you have any questions on that, post in the comments. If you want to take a look at a certain area, post that in the comments as well. We can do a deep dive into what I think you're going to get in your location, or if you're traveling on a highway, we can break down the route for you as much as possible. I want you guys to drive. First of all, I want to welcome all of the new subscribers. Thank you guys so much for finding the stream over the past couple of days, finding the channel over the past couple of days. If you're just finding this, I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kegas, and we talk and track all things weather. And right now we are breaking down the blizzard. So if you like, almost a blizzard, it's not there yet, but it's going to get there in the next 24 hours. So what I want to do is we're going to check on Going to load up the European model. This is the one thing that I'm going to load up here, and we are going to take a look at Michigan. And I think, again, Muskegon, we are game on. We are game on about at least 8 to 16 inches, and I think there's opportunity for more. You know, who knows? I think there is going to be, the pattern is going to, it's going to rebound a little bit in early January. We might see another crash, at least when I was looking long range at the beginning of December, really mid-November when I put out my first winter forecast or winter outlook, if you will. It looked like it was going to be end of December or the first half of January that was going to get just crushed with cold, and it looks like it's going to be the end of December. Obviously, we are being impacted by that now. So I think we'll see things recover a little bit getting into January. And I think February looked kind of active as well, at least from November's perspective when I looked at it then. Just looking at some of the comments. So again, please post where you are watching from. If you like to track the weather, please subscribe. Hit that like button. It helps us out a lot. Get this information out to a bunch of people. Ian, what's going on? Ottawa is going to get it. So here we go. This is going to be, I'm going to back this up. This is the European solution here. And we are looking at, let's see, this is now Thursday evening. You're up more of Friday afternoon into the evening. What I'm going to do here is to give you a timeline. And of course, we're going to be right in kind of that area, give or take, from this wide view. But you see, you kind of get the brunt of both. So I mentioned that if you were on earlier, that this phase, this coming together of these two systems isn't happening quite as it was looking like yesterday. So what's going to happen is you are going to have this kind of slug of moisture slide up into the cold air. So that's like punch one for Ottawa. And then you're going to have this main part that's going to be a blizzard for certainly western Wisconsin into Michigan, I should say. And then it's going to slide over. Then that heavy snow continues with us as the main low just kind of peters out by Saturday afternoon into Christmas Eve. What's going on, Tucker? How you doing? Jane says, hi from Wisconsin. Is it safe to fly out from Mitchell Airport to Houston Friday night? All right, so let's take a look at that. Friday night, I think for Wisconsin, it winds down on Friday night. So the main deal for Wisconsin comes in for tomorrow. Okay, so that's a positive. I think things are going to be much, much better. It's just going to be windy and cold. So there we go. That's going to be Thursday night. And then this is Friday morning. So again, by Friday morning, most of the snow now is over here. Most of Wisconsin is dry. The thing of it is, the wind is going to be so strong that it may not be a full on-ground blizzard, but it certainly could reduce the visibility for driving to the airport, so keep that in mind. But things are going to be much, much better in Wisconsin come Friday. It's just going to be very windy and brutally cold. The good news with this one, if there's some good news, again, this is coming at the worst possible time when there's a lot of people traveling. There is no severe weather threat with this, so that is the one positive, not setting up for severe weather. All right, so let's see here. Bill, going to try to break this down, give you a good timeline driving from Lancaster, PA to Chicago. Should we try to go as far as Indianapolis by Thursday? So let's pull this timeline back here. So the good news is, at least most of your trip, if you leave on, if you leave on Thursday, or to get to Indianapolis, watch the Laurel Highlands down in here. There could be some sneaky snow and ice. You see that blue popping up on your screen, so be careful of that. Most of your trip, though, will be rain to Indianapolis until you get into Thursday evening. It looks like the start of that snow, that is about 6 o'clock in the evening Central Time, and we have the snow in Indianapolis. So I'm just trying to break this. So I don't want to tell you what to do. That's the hard part about this, because wait to leave PA until Sunday or Monday. That's going to be after. I'm just trying to look at this in real time with some of the latest data that's coming in to help you on your trip here from Lancaster over. That's noon, or this is at 7 a.m. on Friday. So to be Indy, I think all in all, and again, the wind is going to be really, really strong still on Christmas Eve. It's going to be really, really strong on Friday if you were to try to leave Indianapolis on Friday. So that's going to be the part. It's kind of hard to track what the roads are going to be like after, because it's just unclear how well the crews are going to be out to be able to get there and how much snow is actually blowing around. Again, I don't think there's going to be too much snow from Chicago to Indy. I think maybe 2 to 4 on a high end, 3 to 6. I'm lowering the totals that I put out in yesterday's video just a smidge. We're not making any crazy things. We're not having that explosion, if you will, of these two systems coming together until it really gets towards Ottawa. Our friend from Ottawa was watching. It's going to be tough. Certainly, it's safer to do it after, just because the road conditions are going to be unknown. But that is what it's going to look like at 6 p.m. Central Time in Indy, right about there. So you would beat most of the snow in if you were planning on getting to Indianapolis by the evening. If you could even move it up further to get there in the afternoon, just to make sure this thing doesn't speed up, because sometimes these things race and outperform what the model guidance is showing. So these kind of come screaming out of the Canadian Rockies like this. So just keep that in mind as well. Cincinnati to Columbus on Saturday morning. The good thing is, I think we'll have a couple of inches of snow. I have you guys at 2 to 4 inches of snow from Columbus to Cincinnati. There is Saturday morning. So it's all going to depend upon how well the roads are. There will still be some blowing and drifting snow down in this area, but the snow will be over from falling. So it's going to be better. It's still going to be very windy. And again, it's going to be very cold. And that's something else I want to stress. We'll stress a couple of things in this video. If you have pets, bring those guys and gals in. Also, if you are going to travel, I know it seems extreme, but to make sure that you have some food and extra blankets and things like that, because the temperatures are just so cold that if there would be a crash on the interstate or something like that, or if it does become too dangerous to travel because the visibility is so reduced, you want to make sure you are prepared to be there as well. Yeah, I would assume so. I would hope so anyway. Again, it's not a ton of snow. That's the one positive here. Unless you're watching from like right along the Indiana-Michigan border and then Michigan. That is no doubt like the jackpot slam dunk. We are going to get crazy amounts of snow, especially in western Michigan and the UP, and then right along the Indiana-Michigan border. But I would have to think that I-75 is going to be well maintained. Already into blizzard warning. It is game on. And they're even a little bit higher than my totals. I've got 8 to 16 with isolated higher. I think they've gone 10 to 20. I think you might this time around, John. Toronto and Hamilton, closer to Lake Ontario. Well, here's the deal. I think you're going to get it just in time. Watch what happens. So if you're hanging out right on in here, to turn the little telestration off, watch what happens we're going to get that nice push of some snow there just to the north of Lake Ontario. So I think you're going to get the opportunity for the white Christmas literally just in time by Friday night and into Saturday morning, because it is going to turn very, very cold. And anything that starts as rain is going to go, and you're still kind of snowing until Saturday afternoon into Toronto. Hey, Nicole, thanks for tuning in from the panhandle of West Virginia. Thank you again for being with us on this live podcast. Just kind of breaking down what is happening here with this blizzard. Put the video out yesterday with my own interpretation of the snowfall. I do think the numbers are going to be in just a little bit lower than what I had said yesterday. The main reason for that is these two systems really aren't going to play with each other anymore. This little slug of moisture, I was expecting it to kind of phase, as we call it, right about here, and then kind of explode here. I think that happens more up into southern Canada now. So we kind of have this slug of moisture just aimlessly drifting to the north, and then this clipper system that's going to deliver the wind and the cold coming through as well. So now they're not playing together as much. There's not as much moisture. It's still going to be windy. It's still going to be very, very cold, of course. But I think the snowfall totals are just a little bit lower. And I wasn't all that high anyways. I was on the lower side of some of the things anyway. Let's see here. I would think Pittsburgh is going to at least be under a wind advisory. It's going to be close for the high wind warning criteria, but I think that might be a little bit further to the north. All right, southeastern Michigan bordering Ohio. So you're going to be right there. I believe I had you in the 2 to 4 inch range. Let's go see. We'll get a little bit closer here. This is going to be, yeah, I think 2 to 4 inches is still my guy. He knows what's up. Jared, I think 3 to 6 inches is still looking pretty good for central Indiana. Not a ton of snow, but it's going to blow and drift. And it might be very hard to measure. That's the other thing about this too. We might never know what the accurate measurement is going to be. For instance, last week in South Dakota, somebody had reported there was literally bare ground and then waist-high snowdrifts, like right next to each other. So, I mean, it's the power of the wind. Mark, supposed to be driving through Nebraska tomorrow. I do think the worst of the weather is going to be out of Nebraska tomorrow. So, yeah, just watch out for some blowing and drifting snow, Mark. But the good news is by tomorrow, and I mean, here is 6 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. We're finishing up that snow in Nebraska. That's moving into Kansas as well. You got it, Jared. Be safe. Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning in. Man, that's some crazy cold while I have you on. I mean, we showed this a little earlier, but I mean, this is impressive. Here is where, if my telestrator will cooperate so I can turn it off, look at that. Look at the cold coming in. Here is the Arctic air mass. And I mean, in parts of Wyoming, I mean, it's already, 19 below just outside of Yellowstone National Park. Most of Montana now is 20 below. And again, these are the actual air temperatures. These aren't the wind chills. Those are just going to be brutal. We're going to go up. The core of this air mass still needs to blast in. So as Kenley mentioned, that the coldest of this air is still yet to come, and it is still moving through eastern Alaska and into the Yukon Territory. Look at this, 60 below. These are official, if you can see that little pink color here. That's 60 below just to the north of British Columbia. I mean, this is some big time cold. A lot of you guys have already suggested it, that if you are going out, to make sure you do have almost kind of plan to be stranded on the road. Make sure you have the extra blankets. Make sure you have some food, because again, this is some big time cold stuff. It's not, for those of you that have been with me long enough on this channel, the reason why I created this channel is because I hate the hype that's out there on social media when it comes to the weather. This is one of those things, though, that is just like when you see 60 degrees below zero without the wind, you got to make sure you prepare for it if you are driving. And I know it sounds extreme, but that is some big time cold. Absolutely. This is no doubt an Alberta Clipper. No doubt an Alberta Clipper. And one of the characteristics of Alberta Clippers is that they are moisture starved, and that's why I'm not anticipating a ton of snow with this system. Now, again, I keep on saying asterisks, unless you're watching from Western Michigan. So keep that in mind. So here is the deal with this. This is a great, great question. And this is the number one question that I have gotten here. Flying out of Chicago Friday, what are the odds of delays? The thing of it is, I think the weather is going to be subsiding. We're going to take a closer look here. First, I want to go widespread. So this is Thursday evening. The worst of the weather for Chicago is Thursday evening into early Friday morning. I think most of the snow is over. This is 1 o'clock in the morning Central Time. The snow is done in Chicago. It's going to be the wind. So the two things that we're going to have to contend with now for delays out of Chicago will be the wind, because we'll still likely see at least 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts in Chicago on Friday. But then it's also the ripple effect. And that's the hardest thing to predict, is what this is going to do to the airline, because on Thursday, we all know it if you fly enough. If something's in Chicago, if something's in Atlanta, I mean, it jams up everything. And we do have something moving through Chicago on Thursday that may create a ripple effect for Friday. That remains to be seen. But the good news is the weather will turn more positive Friday for Chicago. Not so much now for Ohio. Again, this is going to be 7 a.m. on Friday. Have some snow moving through Pittsburgh. There we go in Michigan. Getting... I love that movie. Great movie. Hey, Ellie, I have to drive to Chicago for Christmas from Michigan. So what days are you planning on driving? If you can tell me what days, I might be able to help you out a little bit better. If you're doing it on Christmas itself, it's going to be better. If you're doing it on Sunday, things would have subsided a little bit. But if you're doing it the days leading up, that's a different story, and we'll try to get you through that when you tell me what days you are driving. I will. I'm planning on having a live stream again tomorrow afternoon, and then hopefully on Friday afternoon as well. At about this time, somewhere in that 2 o'clock afternoon ballpark. But because I want to make sure, I want to watch how this comes together. This was always a complex system with those two pieces playing with each other, so to speak. All right, so the good news is, Ellie, the good news is that I think on Christmas Eve even, this is Christmas Eve. Actually, I don't even think this goes out until Christmas. This is only a 48-hour rendition here. So the snow has stopped on Christmas Eve. Okay, so I think you're going to be pretty good. Just watch out for that blowing and drifting snow. I think things get better as we get into Christmas Day as well. I believe you said you were leaving from Michigan. What part of Michigan are you leaving from? That's the other part of this. Because if you are north up the Mitt or in western Michigan, then it comes really, really awful to drive in. Kyle, what's going on? Okay, so here's the deal with the track of this storm. And this is a good time to kind of talk about that. Yesterday, the one change here that at least I'm interpreting here, geez, I can't even talk today. This is kind of that piece one. I thought these two would kind of merge over here, and that's why you saw those crazy big totals shifting from, okay, first it was Indianapolis, then it was Chicago getting crushed. We don't really see those. We don't really see those crushing totals through Indiana, through Chicago. And the reason is those two storms are not going to come together right in here. Those are going to kind of move towards, see how they kind of stay separated? This is kind of piece one on the coast. This is the main Clipper system here. So we're just going to get a moisture-starved snowstorm here. The one thing that saves some snow totals is the higher snow ratios because it is colder. You do get more efficient snow production when it's colder. So it's more of that fluffy stuff rather than the wet cement-like things. What I'm using now is weathermodels.com. That's what I'm using to kind of display this here. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if anybody's finding us for the first time, I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kagis. If you like to talk and track the weather or just stay up to date, we would love to have you on board if you hit that subscribe button or hit the like button. So, and that's the thing. And this Arctic outbreak is so big that they could be certainly, you know, I don't, the thing with getting more snow totals into Arkansas, and I mean, there's some, I think we'll get 1 to 3 inches in northern Arkansas. So it certainly could. That might be wish casting just a little bit. Just because, I mean, if we, our best snow in Arkansas would be to get something that kind of rolls through here, which isn't going to happen. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to kind of move closer to the Great Lakes. And then again, we can kind of bounce around. So here, this is pretty much through the event here. Yes, so North Carolina, we do get some good ones. We get the enhancement from the enhancement from that upslope effect. So we get some good stuff there for sure. And that's why La Nina years are typically good, because we get those Clipper systems to come down, and then we get kind of blasted on the west slopes. Gosh, you know, I think that might be a possibility. I mean, over the water, I mean, I think we could have 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts. So, I mean, it's going to be no joke waves really on all of the Great Lakes. Moose Lake, love it. I love Minnesota. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I hope you get the White Christmas. I think you're going to get it. I do think you're going to get it. That last gasp, a day or two before that rain is going to change to snow, and some of that could be heavy at times. So, good. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you. They are definitely used to it. You got it, Dan. So this is a good question and a great point here. I think one of the maybe the more underplayed things now, it's the catch-22. It's this flash freeze that, you know, a lot of people are advertising, and that's good. It's because we get that push of heavy rain, and then all of a sudden we get this blast of cold air. We had, I think in Wyoming today, I forget what city it was, but I watched the temperature gauge drop about 27 degrees in 15 minutes. Like, it is that kind of drop in temperature as we move into, as this front comes through. Yes, and I do think you got it, Bill. Thank you so much for tuning in. One of the things that models do, and this is why, again, models are just guidance, and you can't just take what they say with a grain of salt, or you have to take what they say with a grain of salt, is a lot of times these underperform on the speed. The Clipper will move much, much faster than what the model is suggesting. And that's the other thing where I use caution. If you see, you know, a lot of times the future radar shown on TV, you know, just expect that to arrive a little bit earlier. As, I mean, again, this is a ton of cold air just kind of pushing right on through. I mean, it has literally been charging up in Siberia. Daniel, what is going on? We're going to check out Tennessee. Anybody from Tennessee here or Kentucky, we're going to head down there as well and check that out. That's nuts. So there you go. 47 degrees below zero from Bert in Winnipeg. Crazy stuff. So now, I don't think we are going to see snow in Louisiana. Post in the comments where you guys are watching from. I'm going to switch things up, and we're going to head down to Tennessee and Kentucky, a little bit further south now. I'm going to pull that up for you. So we're going to go to Kentucky and Tennessee. So bear with me 1 second, and I'm going to get you guys a closer look. If I can find you on the map. There we go. All right, America Patriot. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Kentucky, what's going on, Wayne? Henderson, awesome. I don't think we're going to see some snow in South Mississippi, but it will be plenty cold. That's for sure. Oak Ridge, Red Raven, good morning. Good afternoon. I don't even know what time it is. Bowling Green. All right, so here we go. Here's just a run-in on the snow totals first, and then I'll kind of pull this out, and then we're going to go to, I'll show you like an hour-by-hour progression. Hey, Xavier, I think most of Indiana sees 3 to 6 inches of snow. And then I'm going to, I'll take a closer look at Indiana in a second because we're kind of some of that, quote-unquote, I'm going to say bullseye in terms of totals, but we're going to get the wind with that. Memphis, what's going on? All right, here. Let's see. So, again, the snow totals aren't going to be crazy, but I think in and around Nashville, we have a chance at up to an inch of snow. I think in Louisville, or Louisville, however you pronounce it. I know it's pronounced like 3 different ways, so the locals can correct me. Please correct me. St. Louis, I think we're going to be in that 1 to 3, maybe 2 to 4 inch ballpark. I don't think it's a ton of snow in St. Louis. I was thinking just a little bit more last night when I put out my official forecast. I dialed it back a little bit just because we're not seeing that phase between the two systems like I thought would happen earlier, which was going to inject a little more energy into that system. So there's that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the kind of the hour-by-hour progression on a big scale. So if you're watching again from Tennessee, Memphis by Thursday night, there we go down here, we are going to see the snow arrive. Same thing into Bowling Green, into Louisville. That's going to happen Thursday night. In the blue, that represents the snow. This is all the ugly rain. Again, for the most part, missing us. The snow on the I-95 corridor. So just going to be an ugly, heavy rain. We are going to watch for the flooding potential in the Northeast, if anybody's tuning in from the Northeast. Do I think Cincinnati will get a blizzard warning? One thing I haven't done yet on this live stream is take a look at some of the winds on a zoomed-in level. So what I'm going to do is do just that, and we're going to start with Ohio because that's where this thing is going to explode. You know, I've seen a lot of people, at least in the comments yesterday, blizzard of 1978. And if anybody was around in 1978, I was not, but I've talked to people who have been. I don't think this rivals that. Certainly the amount of snow is not going to be anywhere close to what that was. It's going to be very, very windy, though, and the power outages is probably going to be the main thing that I'm going to be concerned with in Ohio because it's going to get so cold behind this system. So if this updates for me, that's awesome. All right, so these are the wind gusts, and as it is loading, again, I mean, this is, somebody mentioned about the waves on Lake Erie. I mean, again, this is Erie. This is 51 miles an hour right in Erie. Up into the Cleveland area, 45 miles an hour. Again, these are gusts. To get a blizzard, it is really, really hard to verify a blizzard. Again, it's not about the amount of snow. It's the visibility is being reduced to a half a mile or less, a quarter mile or less, for 3 consecutive hours, in addition to having sustained winds of about 35 miles an hour. So it's really hard to verify a blizzard. I don't know that we do that, but nonetheless, in Cincinnati, I mean, we're talking about 30 to 40 mile per hour wind, so that is going to blow the snow around. And again, when I talk about the snow totals, it's going to be really, really hard to measure this stuff just because it's going to be blowing around so much. Somebody asked about wind advisory in Pittsburgh or high wind warning. They made us end up hoisting a winter weather advisory to the National Weather Service to account for all of that. Look at this in here. I mean, we're talking hurricane force winds in the mountains of West Virginia if anybody has to drive through that. So again, and also into Maryland. Note that that's a Friday morning. Some big time winds as well. It is not. It is crazy. I will zoom in and we'll pick a state and I'll show you how quickly the temperature is going to drop. I mean, it's one of those really, really good, really extreme cold fronts. Oh, yeah. Hey, what's going on, Art? We're going to go back up to Michigan. I tend to do this a lot and just pull me back in if I say I'm going to do something and then end up saying squirrel and go chasing something else. So just to keep me grounded here for everybody that's just joining us. We have a lot of new people on this live stream. Thank you so much for finding us. If you're finding us for the first time, I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kagas, and we talk and track all things weather. So if you do like talking about the weather and tracking it with us, I love to get your reports of what you are seeing out there when we were talking about snow or rain or hopefully not severe weather, but we're not getting it with this. But I love to get those reports and see what's going on across the country. So would love it if you join us and hit subscribe. We'll take a look. So unfortunately, I do think that's a possibility in Fort Wayne. We're just outside here, and you see that. I mean, right in here, that's the model estimating 40 to 50 mile per hour winds with this system. So, and it's going to be kind of like a long duration windy event as well. So, and if any kind of, I don't think there's a ton of snow to lay on the power lines, and I think it's going to be more of that fluffy stuff rather than the kind that sticks everywhere. That potential is going to be there. And again, I think that if you're driving through these areas, that's of course dangerous. But one of the other parts is just because you don't want to lose power in this kind of cold that's coming through. Alec, we can head out in your direction and check that out. And just see, well, actually, that one doesn't go out far enough. Hey, Alabama, I think we're going to see some light snow in northern Alabama. I don't think it's anything crazy. I don't think it's going to amount to much, but I do think the rain is going to change over to a quick burst of snow. Here is the wide view of things, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. So this is as of 5 p.m. We have the rain starting, and again, there's very limited moisture with this. So that's the thing, like the big snow totals are pretty much out of the question. So as we're talking about Alabama, we'll get to you in a second, Scott, since we're in Alabama. Here we go into Birmingham, give or take. We'll see the rain come in first. And then I think we'll see a brief period. You might hear some sleet on the roof. And then you see a brief period of snow with very light accumulations. Anything should be less than an inch. It may have trouble sticking on the roads. But again, the cold air is going to be rushing in. It's one of those crazy ones. So all of that stuff. Yeah, and I mean, Scott, great point there. And that's the main part. And it's not so much the snow. I know a lot of people are focused on that, and rightfully so. See, rightfully so. But this storm, I think, is going to be more impactful with the wind and with the cold. Again, asterisks, unless you're in Michigan, because then we're going to get the crazy amounts of snow, especially in the UP. Look at this. This is Thursday night it is snowing bonkers up here. UP, Northern Peninsula, and then on the western side. Somebody asked about St. Louis. What's going on, Sean? We'll back this up for you. And I think there's where our little burst of heavy snow comes in. So this is going to be about 9 a.m. on Thursday. So again, this Clipper system is booking. That's why it's called a Clipper system. They move fast. They are moisture starved. Okay, so I don't think there's going to be a ton of snow. I was thinking yesterday when I put my snow map out, for those that watched the video yesterday, first of all, thank you for that. Second of all, I thought this round here was going to be able to kind of, the dip in the jet stream out here was going to be able to tug that further in and help it explode a little sooner. That's not going to happen until up here. So that's why I don't think we're going to get some of the big totals. I thought that we could get more than 4 inches in this area. I don't think that anymore. I think more like 2 to 4 or 3 to 6. It's more about the wind. St. Louis, we're right about there. Our heaviest snow pushes in about 1 o'clock. That's going to be about lunchtime, noon to 1 in St. Louis, and I think you're going to get around 1 to 3 inches of snow in St. Louis. All right, Topeka to Madison on Friday morning. The good thing is I think things are looking pretty good. We're not going to get a ton of snow in Kansas, and that snow is going to be long gone. So there's our snow comes tomorrow. This is like 3 o'clock in the morning, your time. And then already by, 1 o'clock, noon, all the snow is out of Kansas. It's still going to be very windy. Whatever snow is there is going to blow around. I just don't know if there's going to be enough to really make travel terrible. Just again, of course, pay close attention when you're driving out there. Hey, what's going on in Marquette in the UP? Yeah, I've got you at about 12 inches to 12 to 24, 1 to 2 feet. And then you're going to get 40 to 50 mile per hour wind. So, yeah, if you like that stuff, it's going to be a wild ride. Hey, where are you watching from? No, completely agree with that. Completely agree with that. I mentioned, I don't know if you were on before when I was talking about in Wyoming, the temperature dropped like 27 degrees in 15 minutes. So it's crazy. It's crazy. And just to show you here, I'll bring up a different perspective. Yes, great question, Alec. I think you can get a blizzard with no snow. I lived in Minnesota for several years, and anybody in the northern plains, upper Midwest knows this, that we can get ground blizzards. So from the powder that has already fallen from snow, all you need are 2 things. You need to get the wind to be 35 miles an hour sustained for 3 consecutive hours. And then you also need the visibility under 1/4 of a mile for 3 consecutive hours. Those are the only 2 requirements. Snow, you need to have it in some capacity, whether it's falling or whether it's already on the ground and just blowing. Again, my friends in South Dakota just dealt with an actual blizzard and then a ground blizzard in the days that followed the snow shedding off. Unfortunately, Daniel, I don't think so. I think it's going to be rain. Hey, Bob, yeah, unfortunately. I know we could use a good snow, but here we go. It's that close. This is the kind of slug of moisture. There we go in New York City. And it's just going to, just going to be a cold rain. Hey, Connor, I have you right now in 4 to 8 inches of snow. Here we go coming in. I think it's going to start as rain. So you see this is going to be about 7 o'clock local time. And we are going to... Hey, who are you? I don't know what, I'm not sure what area you are talking about, but let me know. Sorry if I missed you in the comments. There's a lot of comments coming in. I'm trying to get to everybody. Hey, Ace, I don't think tornadoes in Florida. I don't. We are not looking at a severe weather threat like we did last week with that cold front coming through. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for your service. I see your Air Force picture. For snow, Charlie, I think only at about 3 to 4 or 2 to 4 inches. That's what I would have you in right now. I think the snow is going to be a little bit lower, but it's going to be windy. So we get a nice little burst. This is noon central. It's snowing pretty heavily tomorrow. And already by 7, 8 o'clock, most of the snow is tapering off. Hey, Bobby, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming back. All right, so into Kenosha, we are going to go. We're going to go take a closer look. We're going to go up into Wisconsin, and we are paired with Michigan on these plots. So I just need to find it real quick. And again, sorry if I am missing your some of your comments. You can keep on posting them in there. Good question about Syracuse. I think we're going to get some snow. I have you at about 2 to 4 inches. So I think it starts as rain, kind of lifts up, and then eventually the lake effect goes in mainly towards Watertown and then due west off of Lake Ontario. Kalamazoo, it is game on. So here we go. We are. Yeah, no, Tropical Tidbits is a great site to get your forecast models from, for sure. No, it's a great site. Will do, my man. Will do. I appreciate it. I will keep you posted. I don't think we're looking at severe weather, though. This is going to come through. The temperature is going to drop quickly in Tampa, but I do not think we're looking at a severe weather threat. Hey, man, I appreciate that so much. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, where are you at again? Please, you can post that in the comments again. I'm sorry. The comments are coming in. I appreciate you guys for that. Yeah, so I would honestly prepare for it just because the winds are going to be in it for an extended period of time coming through. Syracuse, yeah. So you've missed all of the lake. You've missed all of the lake effect this year. The wind has been oriented southwest and northeast. Now it's going to be just due west. You need kind of that little kink to the northwest to get down into Syracuse. So, yeah, I think you kind of get that push here. Maybe a little bit of lake effects sneaking in, but I think overall 2 to 4 inches from about tomorrow until late Friday night. Arkansas snow. We'll take a trip south in just 1 second. How you doing, Harper? And then we can look at some of the temperatures as well in Asheville. Please remind me to do that. I'm at Kalamazoo. We're going to be on. See, this is one of those things. I get sidetracked. So keep me in check. Well, that's a good question. I went to school for it, for one. I've been doing it a while. And I've been paying I've been watching this thing for about 10 days. So I have everything in my mind and just watching everything, how it's come together. Great advice there, Sherry. Thank you. I am using weathermodels.com right now. Dayton, Ohio, I have you at about 2 to 4 inches of snow. Unfortunately, yes, all rain. Yeah, lake effect has been, it's robbed Syracuse really over the last few years. The lake might shut down after this for a little bit because this might help to freeze Ontario. Great question, and I'm going to do my best to answer that for you. It's a very complex system. It's not your atypical storm. And again, see, I mentioned Kalamazoo. I think we're going to be in that 2 to 4, maybe 3 to 6 ballpark for Kalamazoo. Not a ton of snow, but you see that? Kenosha. I wish you could slap me through this computer, but because I am all over the place. Done. That's awesome. I'm down. Awesome. Thank you so much for finding us. I appreciate you. What time of day will Grand Rapids, Michigan start to see the shift? So we'll back this up. So this is early in the morning on Thursday at about 1 a.m. And then we start to really see that change as we get to Thursday evening. So I would say about dinner time on Thursday for Grand Rapids to start. So I would be where you want to be on Thursday evening, because then it goes gangbusters and you see it here. I mean, we're talking, I officially had you in 8 to 16. And again, I drew that. If you watched the video yesterday, I drew I drew the where I thought we could get isolated higher in some places before. I do. Yeah. The Appalachians, I used to do this in Roanoke for a while, and it was always you-know-what forecasting for like Pocahontas County in West Virginia, right along the western slopes, because typically models underperform there. So you can certainly get more than predicted. I mean, I think you could see, honestly, 6+ inches of snow because you get that upslope enhancement. That's where it helps to have these clippers come through, and we typically do overperform, like you said, Timothy. See, this is really, really sad. So, yeah, I mean, take it from Sherry, and thank you again for this insight. Again, thank you for all that you do as well. It's just, and I know you don't even think about it sometimes. You don't even think about it sometimes. I wouldn't worry per se. I think, though, that we are going to get a little bit of snow, maybe up to an inch in Knoxville, and then the wind, and then you'll see the opportunity for a slight opportunity for some power outages. So somebody asked, my Syracuse guy, and we'll look at the timeline. So this is the weird part. So we have this first batch coming through that's kind of a mix of rain and snow. And then this is where we get our best snow in Syracuse. Again, it's going to be ugly tomorrow. We get this first slug, and same deal for Rochester. So I know I had a question from Rochester as well. Rochester, New York, that is. Kind of ugly here. This is Thursday evening, okay? And then we are going to fast forward this. And then our best snow comes in as we get into Friday morning and afternoon. This is 11 o'clock. This is 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. So Friday morning. There will be about 30 to 40 mile per hour winds, even higher gusts in those elevations. So keep that in mind. Harper, I didn't forget about you. We're going to take a look at Arkansas, and here we go. So this is the timeline here, and of course, you know where Arkansas is, but I'll point it out just in case it's a little too zoomed out. So there we go. Again, keep in mind right there in the bottom of your screen. We get some rain changing to a wintry mix in pink there. This is 9 a.m. Central, and then we get that push of snow, and I think to give us 1 to 3 inches of snow for us in the northern tier of Arkansas. This is another good point. You know, we started talking about this a little bit ago. It's that catch-22. It's that catch-22 because the cold air is rushing in, but then the wind also helps to dry out the roads. So it's kind of hard to predict if the road is if there's some ponding on the road, for sure, then that's where you get the black ice, and that could be nasty. So if you're driving around after that cold front crosses, again, treat anything that's wet like it's going to be ice, because, again, those temperatures are going to crash. I promised that I would take you, for instance, let's go take a look at the temperatures here, because we haven't really talked about the temperature drop, and we're going to go into the plains. to kind of show you what is going on. And it's already cold here. I mean, look at this. I just want to see. So this blue here is the start of our Arctic cold front, okay? Watch what happens here. So let's pick a point on the map. So right here in northeast Nebraska, okay, it's 10 degrees. Watch how quickly it drops. This is as of about noon Central Time. It's 10 degrees. And then, I mean, as you get into 8 p.m. Central Time, so in 8 hours, we've dropped about 30 degrees now for the actual air temperatures to be about 20 degrees below zero. And it's crazy. I think you're going to have a white Christmas. Yeah, it is not melting in this area that's coming in behind it. I love it. Right, shocker. All too used to this. So Patricia asked, what outside temperature does road salt need to be effective? It depends upon what the municipality or city is using. I believe potassium chloride can get down to like 15 degrees below zero. And if there are anybody that works in public works, please correct me. When I lived in Minnesota, basically nothing really works. So that's why they just kind of put sand in everything to get the traction. But yeah, it's you're starting to get into that realm where you have to use the really, really expensive stuff for it to be effective on the roads, and most places don't use that. Florida Panhandle. We'll go check in on Florida. Let's go do that. Great advice, Rebecca, especially, again, in these areas that aren't typically used to getting these blasts of cold like this. Texas, looking at you. And again, I mean, Antho comes in with this as well. We are hoping that lessons were learned from the last round. I don't think this blast is going to stick around as long as the one a few years ago that crushed Texas. But still, keep that in mind. I don't think it's going to snow in Florida. I don't think we have the moisture to do it. It'd be cold enough. All right, J-Man, into Chicago. We're going to back this up. This is 9 a.m. Central, so we're looking as we close in on lunchtime tomorrow. This is going to be on your doorstep, okay? So 11 o'clock, start looking to your west in the western burbs. We are going to start to see the snow showers come in. This is about 11 o'clock a.m., and I think that's where we see the heaviest, from about lunchtime, give or take, and then going forward, that is... And then we're pretty much done. So this is a short-lived event. I have you at 2 to 4 inches in and around Chicago. Indianapolis, we'll go take a look at Indy. That is a hot spot. And I apologize. Somebody mentioned that earlier, and I'm sorry I got sidetracked. So I apologize for that. We're going to go right on into Indy. So as Kaylee mentions, while I switch over to get a little closer look at Indy and Illinois, and Braden, I got you for Southern Michigan as well. Completely agree with this. The snow is not a ton, unless asterisk you live in extreme north Indiana, and then into Michigan. That is no doubt the winner of this, if you want to call it that. But the wind is going to be crazy. So so here's the deal. I think, again, a good general 3 to 6 inches in most of Indiana. Certainly the closer you are to the lake. And this is what I was talking about. If you are just southeast of Lake Michigan, you are going to be able to get 6+ inches of snow. Okay. And then certainly if you are in western Michigan, it's going to be game on for at least a foot, maybe closing in on 2 feet, plus 40 to 50 mile per hour wind. So it's a crazy blizzard. Great advice. Great advice. Jermaine, Fort Wayne, I think about 3 to 6 inches of snow for you. And James does bring up a good point. So someone was asking about the power grids. That the one difference is that we quickly revamp. A lot of times when the pattern is shifting, you get a big storm like this, and then it kind of evens out a little bit. So a good point there. Nice to have you on board. Another person looking at the long range. Rebecca, we can go to Oregon. I think your worst is over with this. We can check out Oregon real quick. And again, if I have missed some of your comments, just please keep posting them in. I know there's a couple Kentuckys. We can head back to Kentucky. Actually, I have you in view right here. So before we go back out west, great point. Sorry, I missed Connor's thing. Yeah, I think this is going to be a fluffy snow, so it's not going to be the best. It's not going to be the best snowman snow. I don't think. It's better for skiers. More of that powder. Hey, Detroit, what's going on? Okay. I don't think I have Detroit in. We're like right here in the corner. I would put you guys in the 3 to 6. I put you in about in 3 to 6 inches, 4 to 8 inches yesterday. I think I put you in the 4 to 8 inches officially in my forecast yesterday. But so keep that in mind. I think you're in the 4 to 8. You're outside of the crushing totals that are going to be just to your west. Northwest Ohio, I think we are entrenched into that 3 to 6 realm. I appreciate that, Harry. No joke. I'm with you on that. on the part that it's hard to predict just because of this lake. Now, I will say, because the wind is so strong, remember the whole deal in Buffalo, and we're just south of Buffalo with that crazy lake effect snowband in Orchard Park? Because the wind is so strong, we're not going to have one focused band. It's just going to be a mess off the lake. So it's not going to be a pristine, like, okay, North Fetch that crushes South Bend or anything like that. It's pretty much everybody that gets involved with just scattered snow showers throughout the rest of the day. Natalie in Chicago, about 2 to 4 inches of snow for you, and then a lot of wind. Hey, appreciate you, Harry. Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being on board, and hope to see you again if you are heading out. Thank you for all of your insight. Appreciate you. Tito, new to Chicago. Yikes. Yeah, no, the snow about 2 to 4 inches, maybe a little bit more in Chicago. It's going to be the wind, and it's going to be the cold. We can go take a look at that cold. Where did my Illinois and Indiana time go? There we go. All right, we are going to head to Pennsylvania after this, because Jam has been patient. But for instance, these are the forecast lows here. This is on Thursday morning, 6 below, 1 below, 2 below. And then we start to, hey, there's our warm-up, guys. There's our warm-up on Tuesday, December 27th. We will be at 8 degrees. I do the news in Orlando. Yep, that's where at the CBS affiliate. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And if you're just joining us, yeah, there is a set definition for a blizzard that really doesn't have to deal with a lot of, it's not about the amount of snow. You just need snow to blow around to reduce the visibility. That's really it. So you can have it with no snow falling. If the snow is already on the ground, then you get winds sustained of 35 miles an hour for 3 consecutive hours, and the visibility to drop to less than a quarter of a mile. That's when we get those blizzard conditions. Rebecca, I promised you I would go out to Oregon. I apologize. So here we go. Again, we are done here with the first system, but that brings up another good point here, because we're only been talking about this one. There's going to be another Clipper system post-Christmas. Okay, so this is the deal here. I think Oregon and the eastern side of the Cascades, we get some snow. And then on the western side, we get some heavy rain. Now, this will also kind of dive down here. This particular model, this is the high resolution model here, so I can just kind of show you everywhere because there's a lot of questions. So I apologize again if I'm missing you guys or missing around. Stick with me 1 second, and we're going to get to Buffalo for you. Where was I? So we'll have this secondary system kind of dive down here to give a little more snow post-Christmas. Mark, great question. I think right now it's Michigan. I think it's Western Michigan and the UP of Michigan. I think it's looked like that for 5 days. It has not changed. The one thing that has changed, we are not going to see the phase happen, which will up our snow totals a little bit in places like Missouri and Oklahoma and Kansas. It's not going to help to inject that extra moisture into it like I thought it was, even as early as yesterday. They're going to kind of stay separated until they both slide up into Canada. It's game on for a crazy impactful storm in most of Michigan. I have 4 to 8 in the mid, or in the whatever you call that thing. And then most of Michigan gets 8 to 16, central and western. All right, flying out of KCI to DIA on Thursday. What do you think? All right, so we're going to take a look at that. And you said you're flying out. The good news is this is moving quickly. Somebody asked about, and I apologize again. I appreciate that the comments are coming in so fast. I really do, but I'm sorry if I'm missing anybody. On Thursday morning, is that what you said, Thursday? What part of Thursday? If it's the morning, there might be some issues. And then if you get to the afternoon, things might be a little bit better. Okay, good. I think you're better in the afternoon, but then it's going to be a visibility and wind issue if you head to the afternoon. Sorry, Jam. I apologize. We're going to head to Pennsylvania first. I promised Jam that we're going to go to Pennsylvania. I don't know what part you're referring to, but this is that little slug of moisture, and this kind of answers Billy's question as well. The last couple of days, there was a behemoth low that was going to kind of trek right on through here, and that was just going to blast Chicago right on in here. That was because we had the dip in the jet stream coming like this, and it was going to phase with this disturbance or kind of mix. I said in the one video that I did, it's like Ghostbusters. You know how they have to cross the streams to beat the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? And to get a really, really big storm, and this one is going to be a big storm. There's no doubt about it. But to get an even bigger storm, the polar jet interacts with the subtropical jet. That's where we get our huge storms off the 95 corridor. We have the polar jet coming down here. We have it interacting with the storm here, and then it blows up and just blasts the 95 corridor. That's not happening. I know a lot of us there want that to happen. But so that's the main reason, Bill, is that they're not phasing here. So we just have your typical screaming Alberta Clipper coming through that are already moisture starved and kind of sliding through. And that's the main reason why it's taking on a little bit of a different look rather than developing a low kind of out here, then moving up and then keeping us on the good side. The main low is up here, and it's almost like just a clipper. We're going to get that fluffy snow. But that's one of the reasons why. And that's why it's kind of scary to put those big totals out that far in advance like some people were doing, because you didn't really know how these two pieces were coming together until you get those both entities on land. All right, Jam, promise, Pennsylvania. All right, so depending upon what part you're in, we're watching this slug of moisture. It's going to slide on through central Pennsylvania, and this is going to be round one. And you see here, we have something known as cold air damming in play. Okay, so we have a big high anchored over New England. Clockwise flow around that high pressure brings the colder air right down the spine of the mountains here, okay? So as the moisture is lifting north, we have it running into the cold air. That's going to change everything from central Pennsylvania, even down I-81, and then to the west of Philly to snow. As we move into the evening, and again, this is where we can get a little bit of snow in Syracuse at this time, Rochester, New York, but you see there again, we have the green popping up. It's still a little too warm right up in here. But we do still have some good heavy snow falling in parts of northern Pennsylvania, getting into central New York, upstate New York, looking really good. And then we get that snow up there. And then we're kind of just going to see heavy rain in central and eastern Pennsylvania. That is that slug of moisture. That is round number 1 for the Northeast, okay? Now, as we move into, this is about 2 a.m. Eastern time, we have this Arctic cold front getting ready to push into Pittsburgh. So it's going to start as rain. It's going to start as rain. And then watch it change to snow. There's a little bit of that pink showing up right along the West Virginia, Pennsylvania border, and Ohio border, the tri-state area. That's that wintry mix. And then by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning on Friday, we see that change over to snow. And then there's like a quick little batch of snow. I don't think it's much in western PA. I think about 1 to 3 inches of snow. As you get closer to Lake Erie, and you kind of see that here, the low is up here. Somebody mentioned about Quebec, and we are going to get a white Christmas out of the deal because this system does come together. Both of these pieces do come together at this point. We have a full-on storm in Montreal. So good snow's coming to Montreal. And I'm sorry if you're not on the stream anymore, bouncing all around. Thank you guys so much for all of the questions and for joining this live stream. The wind is now out of the west, so we get a little bit of lake effect off of Erie into Erie and into extreme northeast Ohio. And then this is where we continue to get those crazy snows. It's still snowing very heavily in the UP of Michigan. We have, again, the low here. We have the winds on the backside like this, crossing Lake Superior, Lake Huron, certainly Lake Michigan. And then that just kind of crushes us with the snow. You are welcome. All right, Kentucky, what's going on? We are going to head to Kentucky. You got it, my man. On the 26th. I think we're going to be okay on the 26th. I think we'll be okay. I'll double check that. But I think we're going to be okay. There's some of the cold. It's nuts. It is nuts. Again, out west today, 27-degree drop in 15 minutes. That's serious. I don't think they're going to shift too much more. If they do, it's going to be subtle. I don't think it's going to be a track thing because now I think this is just a plain old clipper rather than something that's going to be a big storm. And then it was going to just kind of move on through, and then we're looking for like a 25-mile drop or 25-mile difference. Favorite question of the day. Billy, my man. All right. Yes, can you explain why people are calling this a bomb cyclone? So believe it or not, that is an actual meteorological term. The real term is bombogenesis. I know it is weird. It's super weird. So we call that a meteorological bomb when the storm itself, the central pressure of the storm drops 24 millibars in 24 hours. So it's almost like a hurricane rapidly intensifying. It's got to meet that pressure drop in a certain amount of time. For one of these big mid-latitude cyclones like this, a meteorological bomb or a bomb cyclone or bombogenesis is a 24 millibar drop in pressure in 24 hours. So that is a rapidly strengthening or rapidly deepening storm, as we call it. Great question. Oh, all right. We're going to go check. We're going to go take a look. Again, we're not getting the white Christmas there, but we're going to go take a look in the Northeast at those temperatures on Christmas Day. So as this loads, again, this is all fresh data coming in. I've not looked at the 12Z run from this morning. I think we're going to get some snow in Northeast PA. I think that's the furthest east we go, like Scranton area and points just to the west. I think that's the cutoff. I don't think we're going to see snow in Texas this time. Maybe right along the Texas-Oklahoma border, a few flurries, but I do not think we are going to get into like any crazy situation with the snow. I love it. Pamela's all already post-Christmas. There is a little post-Christmas clipper that could add a few more inches of snow in places like Kansas and Missouri and everything like that. Absolutely. Bingo. Nail on the head. All right, so let's look at the Northeast real quick. I have a ton of... Oh, I know it. I know it, April. I wish I could give it to you. We're going to take a look at some of the Rhode Island temperatures here on Christmas. So here we go. And it looks like we are going to get down into the teens in Rhode Island. Yeah, in Connecticut. About 15-ish degrees. You know, there may be a little bit of backside snow. It's unfortunately not going to amount to anything. You may see some festive flakes, but that's about it. All right, Cheyenne, Wyoming. For tomorrow, first of all, we are done with the snow. So the snow is out of here for Thursday for Wyoming, okay? In terms of the temperature, do you want to see? And here we go into tomorrow. That is cold. Look at this. This is without the wind again for everybody that is pushing 40 degrees below zero east of the Rockies. Just nuts. East of the Continental Divide. Crazy stuff. So, Corey, that's a great question. I think here we have a really good shot at that flash freeze because it is going to be raining a lot prior. In places like Tennessee, in Kentucky, there's going to be some rain before the snow, but I don't know. The wind might be able to dry out the roads a little bit because it is going to be so windy as this comes through. So there's that. Yes, I think I get what you're saying. So yeah, it's a system. I don't know what the reason why it was so hard to predict is because it was the way that those two storms that I showed you were going to play with each other and kind of phase together. That's the main thing. In all of that as well. I got you. We're going to go there right now. And I will show that to you. So here we go. And you said for Saturday. And Saturday, all in all, is looking better. At least in Illinois. I don't know what part of Michigan you're traveling to. I might hold off another day if you can, because especially in western Michigan, we are still full on. I mean, all day Saturday it's snowing. And that's going to be the difference. You can thank Lake Michigan for that because we are going to have that snow. New Mexico, everybody wants to come there. Because we're largely missing out on this. It's going to be cool, but I mean, New Mexico, Arizona, Southern California, even Las Vegas, we are looking good. It does. And you kind of see that here as it ramps up. Short thing, Haley. We'll go to Nebraska. Stand by. We're going to go right next door to Nebraska. So here goes our temperatures. And this is on Christmas Eve morning. I think it's even going to be colder the day before. Yep. So there is most of them. Southern Nebraska, like getting towards Omaha again. We're talking 5 to 15 degrees below zero. Crazy stuff. That's awesome. I think you are, Christian. I think you're going to get a little bit of snow. I have you at about 2 to 4 inches, so you should be happy. Lawton, Oklahoma. We are going to head there. I promise. So in terms of snow for Oklahoma, there's going to be rain changing over to a little bit of mix right in here. This is as of about 5 a.m. Central Time. And then we might be able to pick up just a little bit of snow. It's not really going to amount to anything. Northeast has a shot at maybe an inch, but that's about it. I don't think we're going to accumulate a ton of snow in Lawton. The good thing is I don't think we're looking at an ice storm anywhere. We're going to see rain. Anywhere we see the ice, it's going to either be from the cold air rushing in or that rain changing over to changing to snow. Absolutely, completely agree. The only spot where snow is going to be crazy is Michigan and then extreme northern Indiana. 2 to 4 inches blowing around, but again, it goes to your point. It's the wind. Yeah, I would be very, very careful. Blizzard warnings are going to continue for you in western Michigan. So if you can delay your trip, that would be my recommendation. Just because, you don't want to mess with 40-mile-per-hour winds and where there's going to be, 8 to 16 inches of snow and maybe even more than that. Okay, let's see here. Buffalo post-Christmas. Got a lot of post-Christmas. I do think we are going to crank up. So it'd be interesting to see. We definitely, I don't know how much you can see it here, but we definitely do. We get another little low here, and then we do get the wind off of the lake. So Buffalo, we do have more lake effect snow coming in the days after Christmas. Central Ohio will get you 2 first because that's an easy 2 to 4 inches. Hey, my man, look, you're gonna get this one. I don't think we're gonna get a ton there. I think it's gonna be more in that 2 to 4 inch ballpark. Like you pointed out yesterday, I thought that the systems could come together a little quicker to give us 4+, but I think now that it's looking like just a plain old clipper, not just a plain old clipper, these things scream and it's going to bring a ton of cold and a ton of wind, but I do think you're going to end up being on that lower side, so hats off. That's a great question. I don't know. I guess so. I think that's going to be the case. At least I don't know it all at the same time. Well, the thing of it is I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a meteorologist, and I wasn't that far off of what they were doing. Plus, the event still hasn't happened yet. So keep that in mind. But with that said, I still think you can get 3 to 4 inches, which is on the lower end of my range. So anyway, yeah, it's the wind. It's all about the wind. Nashville, Tennessee, I think you can get up to an inch. I don't think it's going to be a ton of snow, but you see there's a nice little burst there. So this is early Friday morning. This is about midnight on Friday, and we'll have a nice little burst of snow coming through. Cincinnati at about 2 to 4 inches. It's not always overstated. Like some places are going to get a lot of snow out of this. Illinois, I think most will get about 2 to 4 inches of snow, depending upon where you're at. Northeast has the better shot. Winston-Salem, I think this is mainly rain for us. So here is that hour by hour look again. Have to take this back, and you see right in there, we have that rain coming through. The snow tries to push. I don't think we get a lot. Blue Ridge Mountains in Georgia, we are right on you right now. And there we go. I think there's a little bit of snow. We may have the opportunity for an inch or so, give or take. Virginia Beach, Leo, this is all about the rain for us in Virginia Beach. Ohio, most are going to get 2 to 4 inches in Ohio, and a lot of wind. Brock's Adventures. All right. So we're going to go to Northwest Ohio first, and then we're going to look at Dayton since we're both in Ohio, and then we'll take a look at Toronto, okay? And then we're going to take care of all of that, kind of go into progression. There's a lot of questions coming through. Yeah, I don't think so. Just a cold, ugly rain. Danville, Virginia, used to work there. I think we're just going to see the cold rain. You might see a flake if you're lucky, but it's not going to amount to anything. Absolutely. And again, this is going to be a high impact storm. It's all semantics. You wouldn't be able to measure it anyway. Like, I'll just say that it's going to be hard to measure what falls because it's going to be blowing all over the place. So, like, last week in South Dakota, I brought this up before. That somebody reported that literally there was green grass and then next to them was a waist-high snowdrift. It's going to be impossible to measure. It's all going to be the same impacts as I just run into my own microphone. Nashville, Tennessee, I think about an inch. I'll back it up real quick since we're pretty much right on you at the time. And about midnight, really late Thursday night, 10, 11 o'clock to midnight. There you go. Don't worry, I didn't say Toronto yet, but I've not looked specifically myself for Toronto. But in terms of the timeline here, this is going to be late Friday. So here we go, right up in here, of course. Maybe a little bit back here. Need to get my geography right or my little marker right. There's where the heavy snow starts. Certainly, though, it's going to be one of the higher accumulations that we will see. Unfortunately, if you want the snow, I don't think we're getting much. The northern half could get 1 to 3 inches of snow. I don't know that we fall into the negatives in Dallas. We can check on that. I've not looked close at the temperatures in the Dallas area. The Panhandle for sure is going to get below 0. Let me take a look at Texas. So, yeah, it looks like in Dallas we're going to be in the single digits on Thursday morning or Friday morning, and then the teens on Christmas Eve morning. Sure thing. So, basically what we have going here with the Appalachians enhancing the snow, with these clippers coming in out of the west, we have the wind out of the northwest. The wind runs into the mountains. The mountains then force up the air because the wind can't go through the mountains. So it kind of slides up the mountains, lifts that air up when air cools. When air rises, it cools, condenses, and then enhances that snowfall or rainfall. It's the exact same situation like in Hawaii, for instance. Some of the parts of the island are extremely wet, and then all the resorts are on the drier side because you have the trade winds coming down out of the northeast, lifting up all of that moisture, condensing it, wringing it out, and then going over the other side, you have that downsloping effect. It's why the Santa Anas are so bad. When you get high pressure out over the desert southwest, you get the winds, that offshore flow, you get that sinking air, which warms and dries, and then that's where you get the wildfire problem. So the mountains are a crazy, crazy thing. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Love your name, by the way. All right, so here's the thing. The snow for Indiana, I don't think it's terrible. I think it's 3 to 6 inches for most. Maybe more like 1 to 2 inches for southern. Like 1 to 3 for southern Indiana. It's going to be the wind, 40 to 50 mile per hour winds in Indiana. April, I mean, I think we're going to have a shot at probably now in February. There does look like there's going to be a significant warm-up as we get into the first week of the year. And then I think we'll probably see maybe a crash again in February. Northwest Ohio, I think we're going to be in that 3 to 6 inch ballpark with a lot of wind and cold. So that's going to be our main thing. Let me see if I still have my Ohio side up. And if not, we can go back there. Let me go back to Ohio. Stand by, please. I just need to find it. If anyone sees it, yell at me. There it is. I think Memphis, Tennessee, maybe a few flakes. I think we will see a burst. I don't think that we are going to see... I don't think we're going to see a ton of snow there. I think maybe an inch at max, probably less, though. No, you're okay. Friday, let me think. Friday, I think we'll see. There's a slight chance you ring out a flake. Otherwise, I don't think that we're going to see much in Atlanta, just kind of rain changing to snow. Watch out for that flash freeze with that colder air coming back in. North Alabama, it's not going to be horrible. I would watch out for that flash freeze again because we'll have rain first. I do think we'll see a little bit of snow. Accumulations are going to be very, very light. So that's what we're going to watch for there. And then the wind is going to pick up. Lexington, I have you guys in about 1 to 3 inches of snow. So it's not a ton, but it's something, and it will blow around. Detroit, I have you right now in 4 to 8 inches of snow. I think the more crushing totals are going to be just to your west, central, and western. As well. All right, so I want the snowfall here. So Northwest Ohio, and there's a lot of colors on here, so it might be hard to see, but this is generally what I'm thinking as well. 3 to 6 inches of snow in Northwest. It's going to be the wind again. That's going to be our main thing here. Stand by, and I'm going to get you a better look at Toronto in just 1 second. I'm going to pull out the big guns here. Let's see. Yeah, so there could be a lot of snow in Toronto. Here you go. Here's a nice little... north, east, and west, there's going to be a ton. Like right in the city, we're going to have a white Christmas, but the warmer lake is going to have something to do with it and influence because we're about right here on the lake. But look at all the snow around. We're talking... Look at all that in that pink there. We're getting up into centimeters, 52 centimeters of snow. That's a lot of snow. Again, it converts it. But anyway, Detroit still have you up 4 to 8 inches. Excuse me. Oh yeah, Indiana. I think we are getting a good 3 to 6 inches of snow. If you are just downwind though of Lake Michigan, I think we could have that 6+ range going through. Right now I'm using weathermodels.com. That's what I'm using to kind of show you all this stuff. I appreciate it, and I'm sorry it took me so long to get to Toronto. I have the attention span of a goldfish. Caleb, for St. Louis, I have you guys in about 2 to 4 inches of snow. Appreciate you. Thank you for finding the live stream. I appreciate you. Nashville, it's going to be about an inch, give or take. We're going to see some snow. It might have trouble sticking, but I think we're going to see something. I think we could verify a white Christmas. Kentucky. So what part of Kentucky because there's going to be a wide range. It's not going to be a ton of snow for Kentucky, likely 1 to 3 inches. Let me get to the Tennessee, Kentucky area. All right, so here we go. And this is what I'm talking about. Like Louisville, we could pick up 1 to 3 inches of snow. All this gray color out here. So most of Kentucky is going to be on the lower end of that 1 to 3. But I think if you're closer to Louisville, closer to the Ohio River, especially closer to the Illinois-Indiana border, that's where we're going to have a slightly better opportunity for several inches of snow, 2, maybe up to 3. So yeah, you're going to have a shot. So I would put you well within the 1 to 3 inches. I mean, again, it's going to be a quick little burst. It's nothing crazy. I don't think it's going to last too terribly long. Arrowhead of Minnesota. Love that state. Let's head up. Here's the timeline. I think by December 30th, things should pipe down. Fayetteville. We're going to go over the timeline. I think you guys could get 1 to 3 inches of snow in Fayetteville. You know, Jeff, it's kind of hard to say. I think we're going to see wind gusts on the order of 40 to 50 miles an hour. So that could certainly bring down some power lines, especially because of the sustained nature of that. But it's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities. I mean, power outages may be the number one concern of this. It's certainly, I mean, there's going to be snow. Again, certainly Michigan. We got that. Oklahoma, we are going to see a little bit of snow. It's not going to amount to much. Maybe in the northwest corner, just about an inch. Northeast corner, directionally challenged. If I had to rank this, I would probably say cold, number 1. Then I would say wind. And then I would say the snow. But the wind and the snow go hand in hand because the wind needs something to blow. Even though there's not going to be a ton of snow. For Michigan, I would, all 3. Again, this is Michigan storm, especially Central, West, and UP. How about making us jealous? Yeah, I mean, I think we are the only ones that kind of miss out on the Arctic air. And I mean, we're talking like 60s for highs. Too kind. You're welcome, Laura. Tennessee, I got you at about an inch. Central Wisconsin, I had you in about 3 to 6 inches last night when I put out my forecast. Let's go check on that. We'll go up to Wisconsin right now. And just to see what the latest modeling shows here, because I've not looked at Wisconsin too closely today, but we're getting snow. Yeah, so nothing really has changed from the forecast I put out yesterday. Lake County, Ohio, that's just right across. I have you, I believe, in the 3 to 6. Yeah, I think so. Merry Christmas to you as well. Lancaster, we just get rain, maybe a few flakes on the back end. Downtown Chicago, have you at about 2 to 4. Are you right off the lake, Jason? If not, I have you at about 2 to 4 inches. Brock is asking a good question. A lot of people saying worst in decades. They go back to talking about the blizzard of 1978. That is the storm like of record in the Ohio area. It's not going to be that, I don't think. With the wind, maybe rivaling it, but there were some very, very strong winds back in 78. Maybe it's hard to get this kind of snow in Ohio. What's making it so bad is the wind and then the bitter cold coming in behind it. That is what's fueling this. That is because typically we don't have the trifecta like this. I don't want to say they're overplaying it. I think some of the bud words and the hypiness and stuff, that's what I don't like. But if you're driving in this is certainly going to be really, really dangerous in Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, certainly Michigan because of the wind. I don't have a current. Actually, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Upper Midwest. Let me see. I don't think we're in a situation now where it's a low track. We're not really seeing the storm phase. We're not really developing a central area of low pressure. So I don't think we're really going to see that move much. So here is the current snow depth as we stand. Good idea. Well, good question. Mainly because so far, in my opinion, this has been well advertised. We've known for a week that there was going to be a big storm. Certainly, it takes fine-tuning as the pieces come together, and there will be some fine-tuning. I get the frustration, though, for sure. But nonetheless, I think just giving a general area does more good than harm because, I mean, I think this has been on a lot of people's radar, which is good. People have certainly altered their travel plans because it could be a mess at the airports starting tomorrow, getting into Friday, and I'm just hoping that's not the case. Far northern Maine. Let's go to Maine. Let's go to Maine. Because I haven't talked much about Maine in the video yesterday and here, so I want to give some love to Maine. So in this, it's going to be the same kind of thing again. I'm on the snow depth, so that's what's already there. Those parts are getting the white Christmas. And again, the further to the Canadian border you are, you could pick up 3 to 6 inches of snow by Christmas morning. Again, the coast gets hosed. Nothing. Just too warm and just a heavy rain. Jason, I am using weathermodels.com. That's where I get that. All right, my top 5. I like the top 5 questions. It's got to be Michigan number 1. Because they have the trifecta. They have the snow, they have the wind, and they have the cold. The Dakotas, Montana, Wyoming, we're getting like 40 below zero in the western side of those states. So it is going to be, yes. So, and that is a good point. And that's what I was talking to somebody before about the Kansas City stuff too. I think a lot of times notice here, and this is a very good point, and that's what went into my forecast last night. Notice you see here at the top of your screen where it says 10-to-1 ratio. So that is if it was about 30, 32 degrees, 1 inch of rain on average equals about 10 inches of snow. When it's colder, like it is, you start to see those ratios go up. So now 1 inch of moisture can equal 15 or 20 inches of snow, and can kind of double that. So because it is colder, we have that opportunity for more snow with less moisture, and that's why it was a little bit higher. So I know people were like, oh, you overplay this. It's not just because of there's a reason for some of these being over the models. But then the other thing is, too, it gets really, really complicated. We get into that another time, too, that you have to kind of look to where the snow crystals are growing. And if you don't have the right temperatures, where the dendrites, the pretty snowflakes that you see under microscopes a lot of times are growing, then you get the needles and plates and those other crystals, and those don't accumulate very efficiently. Then you just get crap. The snow ratios are going to be about 13 to 15 to 1. In some places like the upper Midwest are going to be a little bit higher. That's why I think somebody asked about Minneapolis before, and I don't think I got to them. But nonetheless, that is why we're going to see a little bit more. So, yeah, the Kuchera method does try to take that out. That certainly helps with, like, seeing the difference between snow and sleet. Like this here, the Euro right here, and a lot of people don't know this. And that's what somebody made the comment about the YouTubers that are on there now that just show the numbers like this right here. And this is why, like, I have not looked at Maine closely, so I'm not going to give my own opinion because I need to look down. I need to look at the temperature profile on the way up. But if you notice here, it says liquid frozen ratio. So there is sleet incorporated in here as well. So I would have to get in there real down and dirty and find out where the frozen line is or the freezing line is and kind of look at that. So that's one of the reasons why you have to be so careful, and I preach this all the time, probably every time I come home until I beat it with a dead horse, that you just have to be careful where you're seeing the maps and know what the atmosphere is doing, because, again, there is sleet in the Euro that's posted everywhere. Yeah, and I would 100% trust the local experts, no doubt about it. Topography is really hard for the models to deal with. The snow ratios are really hard for the models to deal with. Your local meteorologists are going to be able to do that much better than the computers, for sure. Absolutely. Ohio Valley, it's not a ton. I'm going to take you right there. And then I got to bounce because I am losing my voice. And I want to go live tomorrow as this thing starts to ramp up. Somebody did ask about a bomb cyclone. And basically, you're hearing it a bomb. It's not all hype. Most of the times that term is used to hype and get the clicks and all that stuff. But it is an actual meteorological term. It means a 24 millibar drop in 24 hours. So that's the pressure. That when the pressure comes down, the storm strengthens. And when that central pressure drops 24 millibars in 24 hours, we call it bombing out. That's almost the equivalent of like a rapidly intensifying hurricane. I think that's a bit extreme. You were around Buffalo. We can check on that, but I think that's a bit extreme. We're going to go to the Ohio River Valley first, just to kind of show you again what the deal is. Are you talking about like the stuff that you put in for your engine, or are you talking about like the stuff that you put in? Radar Mega is pretty good. It has its faults as everything. North Carolina, not a ton, maybe 1 to 3 inches in the. Hey, what's going on? Good to see you. All right. See, where was I going? Somebody remind me. Where was I going? The Ohio River Valley. I've been up since like 2 a.m. But anyway, no excuse. Where the heck is the Ohio River Valley on this map? Stand by, please. I will find this. Okay. I know. I need to get to bed. I need to get to bed. All right, real quick at the Ohio River Valley. And again, this is basically through the event. And I think this is doing a very good job right here. This is taking some of the noise out of... I don't think that's a good idea. I'm pretty sure I've heard not to do that sometimes from experts. Don't quote me on that. If we do have any experts in this live feed, please. But I don't think that's a good idea. But don't quote me on that. All right, so we're going to look at the Ohio River Valley. We have central North Carolina on the map, and here we go. Not much, and this was to be expected. This is going to be a cold rain through central. We might be able to get some pockets of a couple of inches in the higher elevations there as well. Awesome, Bobby. So if you have any insight, that would be great. So yeah, here's Southwest Michigan. And really by the second half of the afternoon into the early evening. But central North Carolina, all rain. The one thing I want to do real quick, and I have a couple of other questions. Think about 3 to 6 inches of snow for you in southern Wisconsin. Good night as well. Thank you for joining. Thanks so much for coming on. We're going to go take a look at the winds here off of Lake Erie. Someone had a model question. I'm going to answer that in 1 second if you stick around. Let's go to the Great Lakes. I want New York, actually, specifically, because we're going to go to Western New York for this. We're going to turn up the winds. I just think, it depends upon where, right over the water, you might be able to see winds of 70 miles per hour. I don't know if you're going to verify that on land. Okay, so here you go. So I don't know if the person who mentioned about the 70 mile per hour wind gust comes on. Thank you so much, Amir. I appreciate that. It's not true. There was actually some weather, the Apple app that said it was going to snow on Tuesday in Orlando. That's not the case. That's garbage. I don't know why it's saying that. It'd be cold enough, but it's not going to. I'm going to try, Mark, to be on at about 2 o'clock. So if anybody's interested in joining the live chat tomorrow as this thing kind of ramps up a little bit more, we'll certainly have even more idea of what's going on. I'll be on around 2 o'clock. At least that is my hope, anywhere from 2 to 3 o'clock. So if you enjoyed this live chat, please hit the subscribe button. Please give this a thumbs up. And again, we talk and track all things weather. I'm meteorologist Jonathan Kegas, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in and having this conversation. Thank you, Michelle, for that insight. I really appreciate that. Anyway, I think the northern mountains, the Blue Ridge Mountains getting into the northern part of Georgia will see snow. I'm going to keep your question up so I don't forget. It's going to stay on the screen. Whoever asked about the wind gusts in and around Buffalo. So here is Buffalo. Models are predicting, again, it's going to be crazy. 60 mile per hour winds just about. These are in knots right here. So this is predicting 60 mile per hour. Now, right along the shore, that's pushing 80 miles an hour. And then right in this little appendage here on Lake Erie, pushing 80 miles an hour. So again, this is now Saturday morning, early Christmas Eve. You do not want to be out in this at all in Western New York. I am not. I focus on the U.S. and the Caribbean. So yeah, no, they're right. It's close to 70-mile-per-hour winds. It's no joke up there. It is no joke. I've not looked closely at the winds off of Lake Erie, but it's nasty up there. Just a lot of cold. You might be able to see a stray flake. Let's go down a street. I mean, maybe a sleet pellet. Maybe a sleet pellet. Right in here. Early tomorrow evening. Yeah, I mean, batting on the hatchet, that's where we're going to see power outages. I mean, Buffalo and south of Lake Erie already got nailed this year. So this is just a good winter storm. This is a good Alberta clipper coming through that's just kind of howling through. This happens, once or twice a winter. Even this one's an extreme clipper here, but yeah, this is more of like a natural thing. Memphis, we're gonna see some snow. It's not gonna be a lot. I have you under an inch, if that. It could get close. I have you at 4 to 8 inches in most of Wisconsin, especially southern and northern, and then that's going to blow 30 to 35 mile per hour winds. Merry Christmas to you as well, Pauline. Alrighty, guys. I have to run. I'm literally losing my voice. I was not expecting to talk for more than 2 hours, but the conversation has been great. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys finding the channel and having this weather conversation. That's what I love. That's why I started this channel, to kind of get rid of all the hype and the garbage that's on social media out there when it comes to the weather, to talk to everybody across the country and Canada and over the Caribbean. Sorry, I won't leave without answering that. But thank you. And sorry for bouncing all around. There were so many questions. And everything, I kind of get sidetracked. So I'll get better with the live chat, with dealing with so many questions. So it was awesome meeting everybody in the chat. Again, I'm planning on being back here if my voice allows, which it should. I'll get the tea, the hot chocolate, all that stuff to get the voice ready to go. And we'll probably go for a couple of hours tomorrow, as we're going to have a lot more happening on radar that we are going to track. And then we're going to have a lot more in terms of the wind impact, what it's already doing, and all that stuff. Merry Christmas to you too. I've got you at about 3 to 6 inches throughout most of the state of Indiana. Had a couple just come in. You might see some falling iguanas. You might see some falling iguanas in the Keys in Southwest Florida. It's going to get cold down there too. So it depends. The model question. You have to know the situation for the models. So the Canadian does a little bit better than the Euro in some cases. Like I mentioned, the Euro right now, it does not have, if you use the Kuchera method, it kind of takes out the noise of the sleet. But if you're looking at the 10 to 1, that doesn't really play in. If you remember, early in the week, the GFS was blasting the Northeast I-95 area with very, very heavy snow. If you're watching one of my videos last week, I didn't think that was going to happen because the pattern just wasn't right. Like, that model doesn't do well with like the northern stream and southern stream phase. The European does better. So the European has been locked on pretty well that Michigan was going to be like the worst here of this. Both kind of missed the phase. I have Rockford at about 2 to 4 inches. Robert Bob. Okay. So I know that probably doesn't answer your question. This one, I would have trusted the Euro a little bit. The GFS has been doing great as of late, now that it's caught on that this is not going up the I-95 corridor. 70 miles is crazy. It's going to be nuts. Love that. Absolutely. Perfect. Joliet, I got you about 2 to 4 inches. I know. I do this all the time. If you hang out with me enough on these live streams, I always say I'm ending it, and I end up talking for another 25 minutes. So that's one of my problems. So you won't get me to shut up when I'm talking about the weather. So that's a downfall. I'll probably fall asleep on this thing. You got it, Misty. I appreciate it. I know. I'm gonna get to sleep. There you go. You got all the buzzwords in there. Polar vortex bomb. I love it. I love it. Alrighty, guys. If I didn't get to you, I am so sorry. There were so many questions coming through. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for finding the channel. If you're interested again in joining the live stream tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to try to get on at about 2 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow and into Friday. I'll be able to look more in the Toronto, Quebec area. I have not looked closely myself. And I'll be able to have a little more detail on the southeast corner of Canada because, again, that's somewhere I did not look myself closely. I was focused more on the U.S. for this one. But I'll come prepared for that, and I'll come prepared with more snow maps as well because tomorrow we're really going to be able to see how much moisture this thing gets going. I will have some snow maps for you and all of the buzz. Absolutely. The homeless, check out on your neighbors, all that stuff. If they lose power, again, that's the serious cold that you worry about. In a situation like this, if you lose power and you're out for a couple of days, it's really, really cold. So check on your neighbors, check on all that. Hopefully the homeless have a place to go. The pets, we talk about this too. Here I go rambling again. So now I'm like 20 minutes into the goodbye. But all of that stuff. Awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Pauline. Good to see you again. Seniors and Animals Perfect. Merry Christmas to you as well. Great point. We'll get into that tomorrow as well, especially if you live in an area that you are not used to seeing this cold and you don't have your pipes insulated well and that frost hasn't set in. They definitely want to leave it at that pencil width so your pipes don't freeze up. 5 o'clock in Kansas. It is just about 6 o'clock Eastern time in not sunny Orlando, Florida. We were locked in the clouds all day. It's been kind of ugly in Florida as well. Alrighty, guys. I promise I'm leaving. If you liked the content, if you liked the conversation that we had today, I certainly did. Please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the thumbs up. And again, we'll catch you tomorrow. I'm planning on going live at about 2 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Now I don't even know what time zone I'm in. Good also advice, let the warm air of your house get into those pipes. Alrighty, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. I'll catch you tomorrow. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for tuning in.